So what I'm getting at is like this hand right here, you're not going to learn this from a book. You're not going to know when kings are good on a board like this from reading a book. You're just not. You have to go out and play to get in these situations where you know in thin spots. Because the thin spots that you get into are where you're probably going to make a good amount of your money. Like there was a board a couple weeks ago. It was a king 10 7 deuce board. And I had jacks pre-flop. And we both checked the flop on the king 10, and I led the turn when it was a 7, and the guy called. At this point, I knew he had a 10. I just knew it. And then I led the river again, another pot bet. And he tanked for a bit, and he called. And he's like, "Do you have a king?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, okay. Then we're chopping." Well, then I turned over jacks, and he's like, "Oh, all right." It's just situations like that. You're not going to just know what to do in these situations unless you've put in a lot of hours and you understand players and you understand board textures and hand strengths from betting patterns and such. These things you can't pick up in a book. You're just going to have to go out there and put in the time. Like, you'll see a lot of players just try to randomly bluff. Like, the flop will go check check, the turn will go check check, and then they'll try to like buy the pot on the end. Well, you have to understand that when you're betting, you're telling a story. Each hand is a little story in its own, and if your story doesn't make sense, there's a problem. And I'm not going to sit here and say that bluffing can be really profitable and super aggression can be really that profitable at these stakes, because you're going to run into a lot of calling stations that'll call you down with bottom pair and middle pair and blah blah blah. But there are players and there are a lot of situations that I've ran into where bluffing has been extremely profitable. I've also ran into a couple situations where I stacked myself off trying to bluff old guys. And it really bothers me. Like on a super scary board, you can bet 3 streets, or you could be in position and call 2 straight bets, and then he'll check the river to you, and you'll shove, and he'll call with like queens on like the scariest board imaginable. And it's just, they don't understand ranges, they don't understand hand strength, they don't understand what you're calling them with. Like, they don't understand that if you're getting, it just bothers me. It pisses me off. I wish I could sit there and play higher stake games where people were a little more I don't know how to say, I guess observant. Thinking players are players I like to play against. Because it's like a battle of the minds. It's fun. These no limit games, these low stakes no limit games. You're not gonna run into a lot of those players. And that's the big reason why you can't play the strategy that the pros play. And my next video, I'm gonna start talking about how I play, and we'll see. We'll see if people agree with what I say. I'll give you like a little taste here. I had a hand. I have it up here also. Like queen 9. Ooh, go back to the beginning. Okay, so I'm on the button, and I had the queen 9 of clubs. And it was limped around to me. And if you ever read a poker book or whatnot, or if you're even playing online and you have queen 9 of clubs on the button, you should raise this hand. I mean, if it's limped to you, you should raise this hand 80% of the time. I mean, you don't want to always, because you don't want to polarize your range. But in these low stakes live games, hands like this and even ace king, I don't think you should raise. And this is what I believe. I mean, this is the way I've been playing. I haven't been raising ace king or ace queen or queen 9, jack 10, king queen, even in position, because even though I have position and that helps my chances from winning the hand out, you really have no fold equity at these stakes. And fold equity, like when you're raising ace king, you're raising it for a few reasons, to increase your equity. But are you really increasing your equity if you raise it to 15 and all 4 players call? Because like this hand, the queen 9, against 3 random hands, it has about 32% equity. Okay, yeah, you're beating their range, but not by much. And the ace king is a little bit better than the 32%, but not much. And my thinking is, well, if I can get in for $2, like if I raise it to 15, they all call, what's the difference to me just putting in $2? Because I know that I'm going to outplay them after the flop, and I know that I can get someone stack in the middle if I need to. It doesn't matter if I raise to 15 or if there's only $7 in the pot pre-flop or $8 in the pot pre-flop. It doesn't matter. I can get the money in. I'll find a way to get the money in. So why take more risk when less risk will still achieve the same results in the end? So this is what I limped on the button, and it was checked. And the flop came 5-6-5 with 2 clubs. Okay, so I have 2 overs to the board and a flush draw, unless someone has the 5. But I'm pretty sure that I'll find out rather quickly if there's a 5, but a 5 really doesn't scare me. I still have flush draw, which still gives me 9 outs even if they have the 5, unless maybe just 8 outs, because one of the cards could be a full house card. So yeah. But it's checked around to me, and I bet 10. I'm pretty sure there's 2 callers. Maybe? No, just 1 caller. Okay, and the turn was a queen. Queen's a good card for me, because even if he does have the 5, now I have 2 more outs to the queen. So I have a 10, 11 outs on the river, or I'm ahead now. Like if he has a 6. And he checks again. And I bet the pot, and he just calls. So at this point you have to see, as the hand goes along, the story they're telling starts to narrow the range down more and more. The flop flat call, it's wide range. You could do that with a 5, you could do that with 5-6, you could do that with a set of 6s and a full house already. You can do that flush draws, you can do that with 7-8, 7-4, 3-4. Just pair of 6s. But when you lead the turn and he just calls again, I think that takes away the full houses. I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it takes away... It pretty much polarizes his range to maybe... He might have a 5 still, but like I'm thinking he has a 6 or like 7-8 or 3-4 or 7-4. I'm pretty sure that's where his range is now. And then the river's an 8. And he leads for 35. Well, there was like, what, 90 in the pot at the time? 86. And he leads into this pot. So like, and it's a weak bet. So that just takes all the full houses out. There's no full house now. He definitely does not have a full house. He might have the 5. He might have a straight. He may have just hit a pair of 8s on the river with 7-8. And he may have a flush. But I don't think he bets that small with like the nut flush. I think he's willing to go broke with a nut flush. So I shove and he folded.